last upload, I talked about me trying to stay on track, my ADD, and trying to get a whiteboard. So I went out and bought this. I went out today and went ahead and bought a whiteboard. It's nothing big for right now. I actually would like to buy like a custom whiteboard, something that I could actually fit along the wall here. Now, my only issue is I'm worried about the light coming in from those windows kind of washing out any type of video I take. That's my only concern. If it does, what I can do is buy blinds. I don't really want to put blinds in the garage because, let's face it, it's kind of overkill and unnecessary, but if I have to, I'll buy some and put them out here. I don't want to put the whiteboard inside the house. I'm trying to keep everything out in the garage, so as I work, it's there and it's accessible. This will do for right now. Bought this at Walmart, very cheap. The board was $17, and for the little bit of markers and stuff, ended up costing me like 25 bucks total for everything. Comes with mounting hardware, everything. So I figured for 25 bucks, what's it gonna hurt? And hopefully this will help me out. I'm gonna use this to help me keep track of the CD009 swap, and I'm also gonna use it to keep task of other things I have going on. So it might run out of room pretty quick, like I said, with it being this small. I think this is like 3 foot by 2 foot. It's a very tiny board. I'm looking for my next one to be 3 foot tall by 8 foot wide is what my ultimate goal would be for one. And I think that should give me plenty of space. For now, we will see. So, boards up. This was where I want to go with it. I kind of feel bad. Talked to the guys from Gears and Gasoline, my wife, about this. I don't want this. First thing I thought of is like, I just watched the stuff from Gears and Gasoline, the guys that help me all the time. This thing makes me feel like I'm doing something from Engineering Explained. I'm not him whatsoever. He is way smarter than I'll ever be. I just need this to help me out and help show you guys more of a visual, I guess, a visual aid. I know I'm a much more visual, hands-on kind of person, so if I can physically see it or touch it myself, I know that I'm able to better understand what I'm doing. So I'm hoping by doing this and writing everything down and showing you guys cost and everything will help you some. Obviously working on the transmission itself also, or doing stuff in the car helps, but then writing it down, showing you. I thought about doing via the laptop, but I'm not that tech savvy, believe it or not. Like, I can do CAD work and stuff, but I don't know how to get it to work, and I feel like really fucking with it, to be honest, because I've got about a million other things I'd rather screw with right now. So this is what I'm going to go with for now. I think this will be fine. Please excuse my handwriting. It is not the absolute best, but I'm going to try and go through this as much as I can. So let's start off. We're going to do the CD009 swap. My rough estimate for this, and this is my rough estimate starting, would be about $5,000. Now, what's that pertain? You're going to need quite a few items, and actually might be higher than that depending on the rear diff you get. The rear diff can make, a massive difference for you. So I'll write that all down here and go over it. The rear diff can go from, Jesus, like the one I got for steel technically at $2,200 for a 3.13 with a TRD rear end in it. Now, they can get even more than that, up to $4,000 depending if they're brand new and they have a brand new LSD in it. They can get outrageous. Mine was a used unit and had a used LSD in it. Now, those LSDs are pretty much bulletproof, so it should never give me an issue, knock on wood. So that's the route I'm gonna go with, but they also offer another rear end that's $100. You can go in a junkyard and get right now. So I'm gonna write down these viable options and show you what I'm gonna go with. So I started off saying, like, what do we want to do with the CD009? So let's go ahead and focus on this here. So let's focus on first, the CD009 transmission itself. I put down the cost from $250 to $1,700. Now, why did I do that? Why such a massive range? Well, the CD009 came in the 350Z, the 370Z, and they had some older models, versions of it in the 350Z also, and I believe it came in the G35. Now you can find them in a junkyard, you can find them online, you can find them on eBay, or you can go to Nissan and go buy one brand new right now. So if I were to buy a brand new one right now, I believe it's like $1,715 right now. So I rounded down to $1,700 to make it simple. I can go buy a brand new transmission right now from Nissan with a warranty, $1,700. Now, will they honor that warranty? Guys, I'm gonna be honest, no. They're not gonna honor that warranty, especially if you put it in your Supra and you start hacking it up. But the fact that you know you have a brand new transmission, all the gears are fine, everything is perfect in it, it's kind of a nice assurance for $1,700. Mind you, when the V160 was new 2 years ago, when we had a steep discount, I believe we got like a 35% discount through Superforms, it was costing us $6,300. Again, $6,300 for this transmission at our deep discount. Now it's selling for 5 to 6 used with sinkers out of it, or I got a bad gear. I could buy a brand new one, Nissan transmission, $1,700. Now, is it a V160? We don't know yet. People say they can make over 1,000 on it and they're holding up to the power. We don't know. We're going to test it out. The transmission seems pretty beefy in my opinion. So we'll get to that point and we'll find out here, especially my car only making 600 wheel horsepower. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm not too hard on the car. I mean, I beat on it pretty hard, But I'm not clutch kicking it, drifting the car, etc., etc. I do have a friend close by, Irvin, who has had one in his car now for about 12,000 miles, and he races the hell of it. Makes around 870 wheel horsepower and about 740 wheel torque, and has never broken it yet. And I mean, when I mean hard, race after race after race. So it handles him. I think it's going to hold up to me. And mind you, that's on R888 big ass tires too. They ain't not. I mean, they're pretty damn sticky. So that's just one thing also. Next. Bell housing. Now, this might not apply to all you guys. This is going to be specific to the Supra or the SC300. Now, why do I need an auto bell housing? Well, if you ever look at the CD009, the bell housing is massive on it, causing it to actually hit the firewall of the car and actually some of the drive tunnel. To alleviate this issue, Collins has made an adapter where you cut off the CD009 stock bell housing and you adapt on his adapter, which then goes and bolts directly to the automatic transmission bell housing. Makes it much simpler, makes it much easier to bolt everything up. You don't have to drill and tap out for the starter anymore. Much easier. Now, if you're running an S13 or some other car, from my understanding, you can use the regular plate style, which is much cheaper. But for someone with the Supra or SC300, you're going to want to use the 2JZ bell housing. Now, once again, why am I showing $50 to $250? Well, I mean, you can find those all day long junk. I have a J3. They also have a J1 and J2. J1 and J2 will require no modifications. A J3 will require some modifications as there's no opening to send out the clutch lines through. So you have to drill that out and modify it some. Not a big deal. I'm running a J3. It's 2 holes, guys. Not a big deal. I actually got my J3 for free. You guys can get them dirt cheap. If you ever have an Aristo swap, if you take off that bell housing, that's actually a J3 bell housing. Well, if you guys know, those transmissions, no one wants them, so just take the bell housing off of it and scrap the rest of the transmission if you want. I mean, it's kind of sad to say that, but it's being honest. The reason I got that for free, the guy had like 7 of them sitting outside in the rain and dirt. So he's like, hey, just come get it, gave me the bolts, everything off it, so here you go. So I got mine for free, but being realistic, they usually run between 50 to 250. I would steer away from 250. If you can get it for around 100, that's a good deal in my opinion. Now, Crossmember. So your stock Crossmember where your W58 or whatever transmission was in the car before will not work. Collins offers one for $175 from the website. That might go up or down, guys. I don't know if there's other websites that offer it. This is going strictly from Collins Adapters website, which I'll actually post below for you guys to make this a little bit easier also. Brett Collins has been very helpful with all this, and I'm trying to do the best I can. Drive shaft, $500. Now, why 500? Well, that can actually differ also, but for the most part, I can have one made and put on the car for around $500 for a regular steel drive shaft, or take the drive shaft I have it modified, shortened, lengthened to whatever I need for around $500. Now, it'll still have the, I guess you would call it, the center joint to it, so it'll drive smooth and won't really have the clunky issues that a solid piece has. That's a weak point in the transmission or the drive line. So that's up to you to decide if you want a one piece or if you want to use a stock drive line for your car. So I'll let you guys decide on that one also. Clutch. Now this is the biggest debate besides ECUs in the fucking world. It seems to be going an ongoing debate. This manufacturer's better than this one does this one's junk, etc., etc., etc. So this one's gonna be very hard for me. I'm gonna go with the single disc that Collins actually offers with their kit. I've heard of some other ones that are great. I'm gonna go with his, and I think that runs around $750. Now you can go up to a triple disc, which you can get up there around $3,000. Now that being said, I remember the Tilton clutch for the V160, if you had a triple or quadruple, you're looking at almost $6,000 for a clutch. So even on the high end, it's still half the cost for the high end version of a clutch for the V160. So that's another option for you all also. Now for the diff, this is where it gets really wonky. I have it very high right now. Please let me explain myself first. So it seems extremely high. Why does it seem so high, 2,000 to 4,000? Well, I'm talking about a diff that's a 3.13. Well, Ryan, what is that? All right. The 3.13 diff is the one that came out of the TT 6-speed Supra. It has the perfect gearing for the CD009. If you guys didn't know, the CD009 works perfectly like the V160 because their gearing and the transmission is almost identical. So that rear end ratchets up identical. The problem is it's very rare and very sought after. It can take one hell of a beating and you never have to worry about it. Now, I got mine for $2,200 with a TRD LSD in it, which was very cheap. I've seen them sell as much as up to $4,000 on the high end with a new to LSD in it and pretty much a new diff. It's very rare to get up to $4,000. If you're looking at one, you're probably around $3K, to being honest. But what you can use is what they use out of the LS, which would be the Lexus LS, or the GS400 diff. Now that has a little bit higher, I think it's like a 3.26 gear, so it's slightly higher, not that bad, perfectly fine, but it also has a smaller ring gear. Instead of 220 millimeter ring gear, it uses a 200 millimeter. Now I've heard of guys shearing those off because they're slightly smaller, but if you're around my wheel horsepower 600 to 700, I would not worry about it and wouldn't think twice about buying it. My 3.13 is way overkill. The 220 millimeter is not needed for my car, but it's something I wanted to do just to be safe. That going with it, it can go down for a GS400 or LS400 diff. Can go from $100 up to $1,000 depending on the condition they're in. And if you want a 3.13 like I have, you're looking between $2,000 to $4,000 just to give you guys a rough option. Next up, short shifter. Now 200 to 400. So the one I'm going with is from CBS Performance by a gentleman named Jason Farmer, I believe. I think I have his name correct. It seems to work the best. My friend actually has something close to that in his car, and I like the way it's designed. It seems very simplistic, and I think it'll work for me. I'd like to speak more in depth with Jason. I really like to pick people's brains on how it's going to work. I want to make sure it's going to work in this car and not have any issues. I just don't want to cut up the drive tunnel. My biggest thing is no hammer, no cutting, period. I want this to fit perfectly. Now, I do know that the center case is a little big and I might have a little issue there, but if I don't have to cut open where the shifter comes out, that would be ideal. So I might actually contact Jason here. Maybe I can interject him into this video somehow, but I don't want to cut it up, and maybe I can pick his brain a little bit on how we can make that work, because I don't want to cut up my nice Supra that has been perfect for all these years. Lastly, guys, the Collins adapter. Now, the adapter I use is different from what you guys are usually seeing. What you guys mostly see is a flat piece of an adapter that's open or cut open that you usually probably see on a plasma cutter, cut out and good to go and tapped into a couple points for bolts. Now, why am I not using that? Well, I stated earlier, to make it fit in my car, I need to use the auto bell housing. So I have to cut mine off, the CD009, remove that, use the auto bell housing, and use the internal adapter. It's about roughly the same price, honestly, but there's a little bit more work involved going my route. So actually, I think there's a good bit more work, and you take a little bit more risk cutting up a CD009 if you do it wrong, if you go too far. I don't think you can really honestly go too far, but you get what I'm saying. There's more risk involved in the way I'm going, but I think it'll fit better in the long haul, and I think I'll be much happier. I also get to keep my stock W58 flywheel, and I get to keep more of the stock parts. There's a lot more custom coming for the flywheel and custom clutches you have to use when you go to the plate style. This allows me to use a stock flywheel and bolts, which I really like, as I like that stock flywheel and I like the weight to it. So it gives me a little bit of reliability. So now, what's total cost going to be? Well, I haven't added it up yet because things change over time, and I think you guys can do the math for yourself here. There's too many variables in there for me to give you an exact number. I know that people want to hear. I want to know, is it going to be 4,000, 5,000? Everyone wants an exact number, but problem is, this isn't an exact swap. Everyone's idea of what they're going to do with this is going to be different from the next. If it's not going to be an SC3 or SC300 or an MK4 Supra, you might have a totally different cost and totally different budget for me. Some people might use their stock rear end in this. I wouldn't recommend it, but there's people that are going to do that. That's completely up to you. So I can't give you a final number here. I can give you what is supplied here. This is what I have so far. I might even add more to this as I go along. So that's why I wanted to write it down here, and I'm going to try and X off what I do buy already and go along. So I can go ahead and take off the trans itself. I have the auto bell housing and everything else. And I have the diff. Besides that, everything else I don't have. It's going to be coming from Collins and Jason Farmer, so I'd like to speak with them both on this and kind of break it down. Thank you guys again very much for watching the channel. I appreciate everything you guys do for me. Please give me comments back on this. I'm really trying to slow down. My ADD is very horrible, I know. I'm drinking Red Bull, which isn't helping very much, but I want to keep this going for you guys. The more you watch, every time you guys click on a commercial for me, it helps me out a ton. This isn't cheap. I do have a real job. I try to do this as much as I can, but I have to start focusing on my real work here shortly. I have about another 2 or 3 days off before I have to start focusing more back on work, and the videos are probably going to slow down to once or twice a week. I want to try and do it if I can get it. My goal is to do 3 a week, so just about every other day. It's going to be hard. My job, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't get home till 6 at night. So it gives me about 2 to 3 hours to really do it and then go back to bed so I can get a sufficient amount of sleep. So it's going to be a little hard. So thank you guys very much. I do appreciate everything you do. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Everything you guys do for me helps me out. Hope you're having a great day, because I know I'm going to finish up mine great. Thank you again. Peace.